Scandal at the Constitutional Court under Cándido Conde-Pumpido to save the former Attorney General of Pedro Sanchez. Let's get started. Music. Hello everyone and welcome to a new edition of Precautionary Measures, and pay close attention to the new scandal, what's brewing in the Constitutional Court under Cándido Conde-Pumpido. Taking advantage of the fact that we're obviously very entertained with the Supreme Court trial about the Coldo case. Pay close attention because we're going to reveal in a few moments what's happening. Pay attention to the former Attorney General under Pedro Sanchez, Álvaro García Ortiz, and specifically to what's happening. We're going to share the screen with the information about this matter. By the way, if you haven't done it yet, remember to subscribe to the Medidas Cautelares channel to see if we can reach 150,000 subscribers soon, of course, with your support. And now we have the information on the screen. And what you might be asking is who is in that photograph right now. Some of you may know her already. Let me introduce her to the rest. She is the left-wing judge of the Constitutional Court, María Luisa Segoviano. Her name may sound familiar and she seems very happy and content, but evil never rests. I'm going to explain why. The left-wing judge of the Constitutional Court, María Luisa Segoviano, has decided to take on the draft opinion on the appeal filed by the former Attorney General, Álvaro García Ortiz. All of this after publicly expressing her support for him following his conviction for the crime of unlawfully disclosing secrets. For the leak against the boyfriend of the president of the Madrid region, Isabel Díaz Ayuso, Alberto González Amador. Segoviano attended the inauguration of the new Attorney General, Teresa Peramato, at the headquarters of the Attorney General's office in December. This event served as García Ortiz's public reappearance after his conviction. The surprise came at the end when Judge Segoviano approached García Ortiz while he was being interviewed live by the media. "Two kisses, María Luisa," said García Ortiz as he kissed the judge, who replied with a "stay strong." The former Attorney General said goodbye with a knowing look, saying thank you, while affectionately patting her back. Last week, it came to light that the draft opinion on the appeal filed by García Ortiz against his conviction had been randomly assigned to Segoviano, and so far he has not stepped down from it. In case you don't remember, the draft opinion means that this woman will have to write the ruling on the appeal filed by Álvaro García Ortiz. And before anything else, let's remember that moment when María Luisa Segoviano approaches Álvaro García Ortiz and says to him, "Right now, stay strong." We're going to put it on the screen so you can see it. La Sexta was asking him. And this is what María Luisa Segoviano says. "Good morning, a lot of support, right?" María Luisa, Akis. Stay strong. How are you feeling after the verdict? Well, you just heard it, how Judge María Luisa Segoviano approached from the left, right? And she was telling him to stay strong, and there was the knowing look from Álvaro García Ortiz. And we have spoken with sources from the Constitutional Court in Medidas Cautelares and Libertad Digital, and they have indeed reported to us that no. He has voluntarily recused herself from the draft opinion and therefore from drafting the proposed ruling to resolve the appeal of the Attorney General, up to this point. It's a scandal that he hasn't stepped aside after publicly wishing him lots of encouragement, which is an unmistakable gesture of support for one of the parties in the proceedings, in this case García Ortiz himself. His appearance of impartiality is clearly compromised. His message of encouragement was as a result of the very subject of the case that must be decided in the Constitutional Court, which is the Supreme Court's conviction of García Ortiz. The case law of the European Court of Human Rights in Strasbourg requires his immediate withdrawal, they tell us, not only from the draft opinion but also from the deliberation of the appeal. Since Cándido Conde-Pumpido became president of the Constitutional Court, the very case law of the Constitutional Court has shifted according to the interests of Conde-Pumpido himself and Pedro Sanchez. In this matter, it cannot be ruled out that Segoviano will proceed with the draft opinion on García Ortiz's appeal. The same sources consulted point out that in the event that Segoviano has a sudden attack of decency and steps aside from the case, there could be a 5-5 tie between the leftist bloc and the conservative bloc. Since Conde-Pumpido announced months ago that he was stepping aside from the case as he was García Ortiz's superior during Conde-Pumpido's own time as Attorney General under the government of José Luis Rodríguez Zapatero. The vice president of the TCE is the leftist Inmaculada Montalbán, and the organic law of the Constitutional Court establishes that in the event of a tie in a deliberation, the president, not the magistrate presiding over the plenary, can cast the deciding vote. Therefore, in theory, Montalbán could not cast the deciding vote since the president of the Constitutional Court is Conde-Pumpido and he has stepped aside. However, they say a legal debate could arise about this, so anything could happen. Absolutely nothing can be ruled out. And let me remind you about the appeal that Álvaro García Ortiz's defense has filed against the Supreme Court's ruling in the Constitutional Court. And it was filed by the State Attorney's Office, which we all pay for and which has acted as his defense. Of course, in this matter, the Public Prosecutor's Office has also acted as Álvaro García Ortiz's defense attorney. Let's discuss the State Attorney's Office appeal for Álvaro García Ortiz. And in this appeal, it argues that the fundamental rights of García Ortiz were violated, such as the presumption of innocence. And the appeal emphasizes that the purpose pursued by the then Attorney General was to refute confusing information, which, according to his defense, constitutes a legitimate institutional purpose. In this way, the appeal emphasizes that this is a matter of great public interest and that it aimed to refute serious accusations that, according to the appeal, negatively affected the prosecutor's office. This appeal also criticizes the court presided over by Judge Andrés Martínez Arrieta, accusing it of an irrational and arbitrary assessment of the evidence. By choosing García Ortiz's appeal, says, the version most damaging to him, and dismissing the testimonies of those journalists who exonerated the former Attorney General of Pedro Sánchez from being their source. Well, that's just how it is. Here, if you focus on one issue and let your guard down, they're causing trouble elsewhere, which is exactly what happened in the Constitutional Court. You focus on another issue. And indeed, while we're talking about the trial of the Coldo case in the Supreme Court, well, in the Constitutional Court, Cándido Conde-Pumpido, Pedro Sánchez's government is trying to maneuver to save Álvaro García Ortiz, who was Pedro Sánchez's former Attorney General. As I told you yesterday, from now on, we are going to start answering questions that you ask us, that you ask me in the comments. Yesterday, you were asking me about the Begoña Gómez case, whether I think she will end up on trial and when the trial will be. When will the trial be? It's hard to know because after Judge Peinado's indictment of Begoña Gómez for those 4 crimes, that indictment still has to be confirmed by the provincial court, because obviously Begoña Gómez's defense and the prosecutor's office are going to appeal to the provincial court of Madrid. So there would still be a few months or at least several weeks until the provincial court of Madrid in principle confirms that indictment. It's hard to predict. Will Begoña Gómez stand trial? My answer, my opinion, my intuition is yes. Why? Because she is indicted for 4 crimes, which, as you know, are influence peddling, business corruption, embezzlement, and misappropriation. And here the issue is that the Provincial Court of Madrid, contrary to what has been said by the Pedro Sánchez's government's media mouthpieces and by Pedro Sánchez's own government, even by the Minister of Justice, Félix Bolaños, which is truly shameful that he goes around telling judges and courts in this country what they have to do. Well, contrary to what all of them have said, the reality is that the Provincial Court of Madrid, except for a few rulings in which it has overturned some decisions by Judge Peinado, the bulk of the investigation, and the fact is that Begoña Gómez obviously took advantage of her husband's position to benefit herself, even financially. This has been confirmed by the Provincial Court of Madrid. So, is she going to trial? Well, if I had to bet, I would tell you 100% that yes, she is going to trial. Of course she can be convicted. I think there's a good chance she will be convicted. Is she going to prison? Well, that's another matter. That's something we'll have to see. But I definitely think there's a very high chance she'll go to trial and be convicted. That's my prediction. That's my opinion. You ask me and I give it to you. And you know, you can ask more questions if you write in the comments of this video. That's it for this edition of Precautionary Measures. I hope you liked it. You can share the video with whoever you want, and as I said, leave your questions, participate, and if you like the video, share it with family, friends, colleagues, Give it lots of likes because that's what YouTube does. It helps it get shared more and makes more videos appear. And of course, you already know that you can subscribe as one of the chosen ones for less than 3 euros a month or as one of the supreme ones for less than 7 euros a month. You can also send questions and contributions through Bizum. I'd like to take this opportunity to tell you that if you want to make a contribution via Bizum, please wait until next May because this April I had to use Bizum for a personal matter and we've already reached the limit. Yesterday, a subscriber wrote to me saying, "Did I send a Bizum payment?" Well, just so you know, it's better if you save it for May because right now those Bizum payments will be rejected. They won't reach me. Don't worry, I won't take your money, but until May they can't go through because I've already reached the Bizum limit, okay? So, save your contributions for next month if you want, and then you can make your contributions via Bizum. What you can do this month, of course, even today if you haven't already, is become members, as I said, as one of the chosen ones or one of the supreme ones. As I always say, it's crucial this information reaches everyone because information is power. See you soon.